Hello, my name is Victoria Panova. I'm the head of the BRICS Expert Council Russia and Vice Rector of HEC University Russia. And I'm very happy to welcome you at their second edition of the Jakarta Futures Forum, a podcast that is devoted to the topic of faster routes, stronger trade. It's indeed an extremely important topic today, especially that maritime transport now is a backbone of the international trade. Of about 80% of goods are traded worldwide by maritime routes. And in the early 2000s, developing countries started rapidly increasing their share of global maritime trade, rising from about 38% in 2000 to 54% in 23. And this surge was definitely led by Asia. And nowadays, at the same time, we do witness a really unprecedented amount of disruptions for maritime traffic. And of course, I'm talking about the crisis, we're talking about Suez Canal, we're talking about, Gaza conflict, we're talking about Panama Canal, we're talking about Gatun Lake, etc. But also another important issue is the issue of ports. They are outdated, not modernized, and not having enough capacity. So I have really wonderful two speakers today with me. Professor Singh Sinderpal, who is a senior fellow and assistant director of Institute of Defense and Strategic Studies of Rajaratnam School of International Studies of Nanyang Technological University, Dr. Singh.
Thank you.
And also Michael Huan, who is a senior research fellow of the Sasakawa Peace Foundation, Ocean Policy Research Foundation, and also advisory board member of Ocean Impact Navigator. Yes. Mr. Huan.
Yeah, great pleasure.
Having this in mind, Mr. Singh, how is it possible to ensure that countries, not only Indo-Pacific countries, but countries beyond, could be collaborating to develop new maritime corridors, that could be bypassing those choke points that we're witnessing now, how this could be balancing regional trade, and what should be done in order to modernize port infrastructure? Maybe you have some, concrete examples as well.
Thank you. I think when you talk about improvements of port infrastructure, I think one of the key things you need to think about, because there's been quite a bit of discussion about new ports around the vicinity of the Straits of Malacca, one of the most crowded and congested straits in the world. One of the problems you face is, I think there was a suggestion that the Andaman might be developed into a container port, the Indonesian port of Sabang, for example. I think the issue first is we need to understand what these ports are set up to do. And normally what happens with a lot of these ports is they depend on the hinterland around them in terms of what kind of industrial zones, what kinds of products. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think the port in Sabang largely has been used to transport is a liquid in terms of oil palm outputs because the plantations are in Java, right? So first you need to understand what the ports are supposed to do. And I think for the Andaman case, because of being the nature of the Andaman Island, there's nothing much around there. So the development around the port needs to happen. A port cannot just develop in isolation, right? So that's my first take on it. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. So the primary thing you think is also to develop territory around the port.
Yeah, I think the industrial zone around it, because it serves as a hinterland. And I think also the transport network. So this is a very long-term infrastructure building exercise. So if you use Singapore as an example, Singapore has been there because historically the port has been there. But then it's built a lot of infrastructure. Singapore is also a transshipment hub. It's just a different kind of port, right? Yeah. As opposed to ports that bring goods from the hinterland to the port. So again, people need to figure out what kind of port, what is the port supposed to do?
Oh, yes. and it's long-term commitment and long-term investment. And that said, you know, port development, it's a hefty cost, very costly endeavor. So what could be done in order to provide for this long-term economic and social dividends for the people who are part of this environment? And also what type of policy mechanism, policy frameworks could be employed in order to push this forward?
Yeah, thank you. I think this dimension is very broad. I think infrastructure investments in the port system is very important. Why investing in this infrastructure? The ecology, the environment is also very particularly important. So now I think when building the new constructions, the blue carbon or eco-friendly system investment is equally important. Or the new harbor or the harbor infrastructure will only be another contaminated places. So another important thing is the energy use, energy transition for the global the logistic, because most of the transportation is still use a diesel. So now it's very important to gradually change to a cleaner energy, even from LNG or the hybrid energy, or even the future, the hydrogen energy for zero emission. So there are a lot of technology in innovation making through this process. So finally, the process and the financial mechanism. I think it will be important for this investment benefit to be shared for most of the regions, not just focus on some designated city. So the community-based approach will be essentially very important. So this will include about a blended finance system from the government support, from the private sector, or from the philanthropy. For the community to decide that this nation also provide a report for the impact report to make investors realize when they make the investment, they can also contribute to the better environmental process. So I think this will every stakeholders can have a position in this to create a better environment for port and investment.
How much change, it could be a question to either of you, would be needed for, let's say, legal environment and legal procedures inside the countries for the ports that host the ports? And also, if you think some kind of maybe alternative or additional financial system could be employed in order to facilitate those mechanisms. So.
Yeah, I think to be more tangible, the impact finance, or for the ocean, it will be blue impact finance, will be very important. Because nowadays people discuss about the ESG. ESG is kind of avoid the harmness to the environment. But impact finance is more a kind of aggressive to seek the impact that leads the system change, technology, and also the mechanism. So this will attract more because this can also ask for the profit investment with the important cycle. So create the positive and then the sustainable ecosystem for investment, especially ocean investment, will be very important. That this will be the platform for investors and then ventures for the new technology, and also even the NPO NGOs to work together to join this cycle to make that. Currently, I think just mentioned the World Economic Forum. They established 1,000 ocean startup coalitions. This is a kind of example for the participation from the investors, and then the government, the think tank, and then the ventures. So they all have shared the platform and then share the technology advancements to set the rules and then the regulations.
Oh yeah, but they also, as we all know, there are other international mechanisms and organizations. For example, the G20 has established the Ocean 20. So do you see their special role in other international instruments for that?
Yeah, definitely, because G7, G20, or from the think tank, it's a T7, T20. Yeah. Now they are making an ocean as a very important. That's why the O20 is established on this. And then this platform will include the multinational development bank to have a more role, and then with a strong connection with the government, and then with the private stakeholders. So I think that is why the we gather here for the forum on discussion and also to sharpen to revising the mechanism and then putting more efforts on the standard.
Dr. Singh, probably a question to you. If you're seeing what type of investors should be going more into this business, and how countries who are hosting ports could be ensuring that they do get all the social benefits, that their population get all the social benefits. So if there should be some international framework, or the framework that exists could be guaranteeing for that?
That's a damn good question. Very good question. I think if I can answer your question by, as you were speaking, I was thinking about, what there's an assumption underlying your question, which is somehow a lot of this port development is, insulated from geopolitics, which is not, right? So we've seen, for example, when the sanctions on Russian oil were put, and there were reports that certain ships turned up at certain ports, and they were masking, whether they were masking or they were taking Russian oil, it was not Russian oil. And this, I guess, sometimes it gets locked up in a lot of geopolitics, right? So some countries who have established ports, for example, feel that, other countries trying to develop ports around the same vicinity is a geopolitical move, right? So I think that's one, we cannot run away from that. I think the other interesting thing for me when we talk about port and port development and investment is the cautionary tale of what happened to Hambantota Port in Sri Lanka, right? The port was built, and after a while, it financially wasn't feasible, right? And we need to think about why. Was it off the route? Was the port not developed enough? Was the infrastructure around not developed enough? So I think those are things we need to talk about before we talk about a mechanism that can cover everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, so we do need to think about complexity of what the port is modernized or built for, what will be its future, how much it will be delved into geopolitics, which it should not, how it can be guaranteed against it, and how much Indo-Pacific ports could be put together to ensure global unhampered trade together with other routes, including Northern Sea Route and all other routes and ports. Thank you so much. I think it was a very interesting discussion. It is to continue, definitely, and we're looking forward for more research from you and more details in order to see how we could, and the countries who have ports in Indo-Pacific could be benefiting from developing the port infrastructure and providing for port connectivity. We've been today with you for the second edition of Jakarta Futures Forum, and looking forward for further engagements together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Terima kasih.
Thank you.